Morning YouTube. So in this video today I want to have a chat with you guys about the times I have not been paid. It's only been twice, right? And first off, does it annoy me? Yes and no. Could I have done more? Yes and no. Could I have possibly got my money from these two people? Yes and no. We'll probably get explaining as we get on, but I may as well sort of. So it's both amounts of £30 each, and me personally, I've said this many times, I like an easy life. I don't want to go to war with somebody and possibly risk damaging my business, even though I'm in the right. I personally don't think, I don't want to go to war over £60, sorry, £30 from one and £30 another. It's only happened twice in the 5 years I've been in business. So again, I don't really see the point in going to war over it. Now, should you take that advice? Yes and no. Pick which battles you'll think you win. Me personally, with these two people, I think probably could have got the money, but it probably would have ended up in a lot of faff, a lot of time spent. And don't get me wrong, I did try, and it would have just been a total ball ache on my end. And another thing as well, there's two battles you've got to fight. You've got the battle with the homeowner, and that's if it goes well and they pay you. They might do a bit of fucking arguing beforehand, but eventually, they'll give it to you. And then you've got the Facebook battle, and I personally don't want to be getting into one of them. Me personally, I've worked in the hospitality industry. I have had to deliver bad news to customers. I've had to bill customers. I'm more than capable of standing up for myself. I don't mind it, I don't enjoy it, but at the same time, I don't want to be, you do have to stand your ground, for one. I think you've got to be firm. Some people know how to take advantage of other people, so you do have to be firm, and you do have to sometimes you have to step over the line. Don't have to be abusive, but you need to show them that you're not a pushover, for one. Now, do I want to do that with two women, with whoever's watching? Possibly not, if I'm being honest with you. Do I think I'm in the right for not getting this money? If I'm being honest with you, I'm a bit annoyed at myself, but at the same time, I think to myself, is it worth the battle? But at the same time, people like me, not chasing people for money, give people like them the room and the goal, and I got away with it once, to do it to another gardener or another tradesman. It's like a self-perpetuating circle. It's got to be broken at some point, but at these two instances, not by me. And you'll see why. The two amounts were £60 for both of them, sorry, £30 each. And I think to myself, is it worth it? You'll probably, I'm hoping once I've explained to you, you'll understand where I'm coming from with this. So the first one it was a couple of years ago, and it was a regular grass cut picked up at the end of the season. So I picked this regular grass cut up couple of months before the end of the season, and every single time I went, it was a ball ache about the job. It was just a shit job to begin with. It was a nice house, but she had a nightmare neighbour, so it was constant. I think we had an interaction the first time, because she was moaning about something, and then there was a time where, nearly every time we went, there was always dog shit on the back garden, lots of it, and you can tell it's just not been picked up. So, and again, it depends which way you look at it. For me, she was on the drop list anyway. She was on the list where she would have got the list at the end, saying to her, I don't want to do this anymore, whatever. End of the season, we were on a countdown anyway. She always paid by backs. The last visit, she never paid for. I think it was £25 or £30. Say 30 to keep it easy. She never paid. I texted her, rang her, nothing. Just went straight to voicemail. Eventually it went to block. How many times did I keep ringing her? I think I rung her 3 times and I sent 3 text messages. In my head, that's my limit, because you could be going on a blurry line here where, a young lady, or well, she wasn't a young lady, she was a lady, she could start feeling like something's amiss here, and I don't want to be put in that situation. I don't want her saying, I'm getting chased by this bloke, whatever. I don't want it. So 3 times is my limit for texts and phone calls. And I went and visited the property after 2 weeks, because I only go to that area once every 2 weeks. So I knocked on again. Hi, can I have money? No answer, no card there, nothing. She does work, she's got a job where she's not at home. And I'll be honest with you, I let it go. I thought to myself, what's the point here? You could keep pushing, keep ringing, whatever. Every time I rung, it wound me up. I went, if I'm not at that, I only go to that place every 2 weeks, and I wasn't going to that place ever again until the new year, basically. So I'm not taking half an hour, well, 25 minutes out of my day to drive there to then either get the money, best case scenario, not get the money, which was likely, or have an argument to try and get the money, which again is probably likely. So for me, I quickly thought, it's a perfect reason to drop her. She hadn't paid, crap customer anyway. So debate that one as you will. I think all the points I've mentioned are valid. I think you do have to be careful. I think there's ways of going about it. Now, me personally, I have worked in the hospitality industry ever since I left school, and I have had angry customers, nice customers. My thing I realise is you've got to stand your ground. It makes you sound like you're in prison, but if people are trying to get something off you or take advantage, and you can see some chink of weakness in you, they'll just think they can walk all over you. Now, when I worked for somewhere and it was them basically getting something off my employer, who I wasn't too fussed about, well, I think, is it worth the battle? But now it's me as self-employed and it's out of my pocket, I do stand my ground. Basically what I'm saying to you is, 1, I'm not a pushover. 2, I tend to not take bollocks off people. And 3, I do stand up for myself, but at the same time, I think if it's worth the battle, for me, I try and pick each battle, and I think to myself, is it worth it? Now, for me with this lady, she struck me that she could be feisty. She's got a fella, again, strikes me could be feisty. Do I want to be, risking getting into it for £30? Some people out there would, but me, I don't, it's not for me. Now, the most common thing I always hear about non-paying customers is some form of some form of revenge. Now, I am a petty sort of sabotage sort of guy, it does amuse me, the thought of doing stuff like that. But somebody asked me a bit about, would I do it? No, I wouldn't, if I'm being honest with you. I wouldn't weed kill. I wouldn't, I wouldn't do any form of basically criminal damage to someone's garden, because that's what it boils down to. And I wouldn't tip clipping. The tipping the clippings thing, it's a double-edged sword, that is, because technically I suppose you are within there, you're right, because it is their property, you're just returning it. But even then, I wouldn't do it, if I'm being honest with you. Especially the first part, like weed killing, or the car accidentally getting keyed at the middle of the night, or the weed killer would be amusing enough to me. You imagine a big cock and balls drawn, but it's, for me, I'd never do it, because it's criminal damage. Is your business worth, everybody's got cameras, everybody's got Ring doorbells, everybody's got a mobile phone. Do you want your business to be dragged through the mill on the Facebook courts because you were perfectly within your right to get some form of compensation? There's ways and means of getting compensation, but you hear it all the time. It's not for me, if I'm being honest with you. And as well, I've got a distinctive silhouette, so I can't get away with it anyway, even if I went at night and I was all blacked up, mogged up, you know what I mean? I can't get away with it. But I wouldn't, even with clippings. You know, at the same time, I try and not sort of operate, you know, thinking like that and thinking that I will have to drop clippings, because it's just not worth it. It's not worth. You've got to remember, you've got to drop the clippings first, so you've got to have that conversation with that customer, you know, which is going to be a confrontation, as you either pay up or I'll put your clippings back here, or, you know, and then once you've had that argument, you then tip the clippings, and then you're at the mercy of what they're going to do to you. You're at the mercy of them filming it, putting it on Facebook. Now, I like to think everybody can see both sides of the argument, but at the same time, you imagine a Facebook group whipped up by her friends and family or his friends and family. They're only going to see it one way, aren't they? And they're probably going to be biased against you, you know, you the business owner, because you're just trying to earn a crust. So for me, 30 quid, no fucking point. Next one is, this happened this year actually. I'd worked for this lady for a couple of years now, and first year, no problem, nice and straightforward. You know, really sort of, yeah, good customer, bad garden. That's the only way I can describe it. The garden was terrible. It was just, parking was a nightmare. You either parked opposite her house on a main road, and you were lucky days, or well, that was very, very, very rare, or you either parked at the top of the road, or you had to park on somebody else's car park, out of sight, out of mind, and it was a nightmare. It was terrace houses, so it was access through a ginnel, and the garden itself was just, it just wasn't nice. It was the only thing that it could have been nice, I'm telling a lie, but all the way round it was rubbish, detritus from, it's like full of broken glass and windows. It was all covered with ivy. There was just a central patch of lawn. As I said, it could have been nice, but it wasn't. But she was a good customer. As I said, she was nice, Gordon wasn't. Did 1 year, no problem. This year, started the year fine, no problem. Now, I don't like reading in between the lines of customers, but I don't know whether she fell on a bit of hard times with money. I don't know. But even then, it's not an excuse, because you tell people, you don't say to people, you don't let people build up where you're owing them, you tell them. So it got where I did 2 visits and she didn't pay. I told her every time. I'd always send a text message as well after, you know, asking for the payment, basically an invoice. Yeah, she never, you know, she ignored that. But then when I went on a third time, spoke to her, oh God, sorry, I'm having a problem with my banking, all this. There was always a problem with the internet banking, but she paid for them last 2 visits. And then next week, I said, you've not paid for last visit. Oh, I did, I sent you twice. I says, so you can see the conversations we're having. And then I'd go and she'd miss 1 week before, and then she'd pay double. Then she'd think the double would include next, what it didn't. So we were always having problems with payment. Well, it got where I went, did the gardening, she wasn't in. Okay, can get it done, no problem. And then text her, you know, just to say, you know, basically another invoice. Second time I went, did the gardening, but there was a note on the door saying that I won't be in today. You know, not a problem, crack on basically. So took a picture of that, because that's permission to get the gardening done, giving the go ahead. You always got to be covering yourself in situations like this. Third visit, turned up there, again she wasn't in, and she'd not replied to any of the messages, and I thought, you're having me on here. Car was outside. Now, I'm not one for looking through people's windows, but when I was doing, you know, when I first got there, I'm sure I could hear noises inside. I think she was fucking hiding from me, if I'm being honest with you. What am I going to do? Am I going to beat the door down? No, I'm not. So again, I just dropped her a text message, and I just explained to her that it's now your own for 2 visits. If you want the third visit, you need to pay for the 2, and then visits will carry on the same fortnightly basis. Never heard of her, ringed her, nothing. What I try and do is, in terms of communication, I give 3 people 3 phone calls, 3 text messages. If it is that they don't respond after 3, you know, get wiped off. I don't just ring them all on one day. Same with the messages. They'll either get a WhatsApp or 2 texts, whatever, but they get free. Why do I do that? Well, because I don't want to be accused of harassing them, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe I'm just paranoid about, you know, all the what ifs police out there, but I don't want to be accused of harassing, you know, somebody. So, and this is the one that pisses me off, and it might piss you off actually. So I just wrote it off. I thought, you know, and I could tell that she blocked me because a profile picture disappeared on WhatsApp. The ticks didn't go blue anymore like they did, so I knew she was reading the messages. And yeah, I thought, you know what, you're going to get it, you were going to get dropped anyway next year. You know, you've just dropped earlier, and it's cost me £30. So showed me £60 for these 2 visits. So that was it, forgot all about it. And then about a month later, I had a text message off her, different number, saying, "Hi Sam, thank you for all the work you're doing. I don't need your services anymore." And that pissed me off, if I'm being honest with you. So I rung straight back, and it got through. Hiya, I said hello, Sam the gardener. I said, "I'm just letting you know you still owe me for 2 visits you've not paid for. I have messaged and rang plenty of times, but your phone must have been disconnected." And she says, "Oh, yeah, I've having problems with my phone, all that. I'll get the money sent straight over." Yeah, no problem. Didn't ask, you know, okay, she's dropped me, you know, but I'm not, you know, being petty over it or anything. So that was it. She sent money over for 1 visit, so I had a bonus 30 quid because I'd wrote it off. Never sent visit for the second, even though I told her. And that was it. So as you can tell, it's, you know, she sort of fucked herself by messaging. If she didn't message, she'd have saved herself 30 quid. But, you know, it is what it is. It winds me up. It really does wind me up, and it's a hot topic. It's probably wound you up. There'll be people out there saying, no, you should get it, you shouldn't. I think I should. I think people should be able to do everything they can to get the money. But ask yourself this. Would you go to war over £30? You know, would you risk your business? Some people have got more time on their hands than they actually need. Some people have just got more malice, and, you know, you've got to remember as well, like attracts like. If she's fleecing people or letting people down, I think the second one, I'm not going to speak out of turn here, I think the second one could be money problems. The first one, I think she just had no intention of paying. You know, she only paid for the first couple because she probably, you know, slept up or something, or she needed me, but she didn't pay for the last one. But you've got to remember, like attracts like. If you go around kicking off, you know, and their friends are there, or she tells her friends after, they're going to see it her way, because they'll see it as, oh, tradesman and all that. Maybe I've got a bit of a biased view, but it does wind me up. Have a good day, guys. Let me know in the comments, by the way, what you do. Have you wrote money off? That's what I want to know. Have you wrote money off? Yes or no? If you want to give reasons, you can. But yeah, let me know. 30 quid, 60 quid I'm down. That's in 5 years, so that's, what's that, 60 quid, that's £12, 11, £12 a year I've lost, you know, due to customers like this. But I'll guarantee I've probably found that on the street, you know, or found that, you know, come into that. So it's not an excuse, and I am being a bit rude by saying that, but as I said, call it slippage. So how much have you ever wrote money off in the vein of it's for an easy life? Have a good day, guys. Keep on gardening.